Hello friends, welcome to Samarth Exam Prep. Today is our third lecture for English grammar and we are going to discuss pronouns. So let's start pronouns with definition first. So basically definition is word used in place of a noun in order to avoid repetition. But isko samjhe kaise? We need to understand it in the way, like for example, I'm having a conversation with you, and while conversing I tell you about some girl called Sita. If I say Sita is my classmate, Sita is beautiful, Sita is good singer. So whenever I'm talking about her and I use her name, which is noun, so doesn't it becomes very confusing for you to just listening to her name again and again, that if the girl I'm referring to, Sita, is she the same girl, or am I talking about different Sitas? Because Sita is cannot be just the name of the one girl on this earth. No, there can be many Sitas. So what happens is it becomes very confusing. So instead what I can do is I can just tell you Sita is my classmate, she is beautiful, she is a good singer. So with she, what happens is you need not repeat the name Sita. Moreover, it becomes very clear to you that I'm referring to that Sita only, who is my classmate. The same way, if I tell you my name is Aditi, Aditi teaches English, Aditi is teaching pronoun today. So there can be two different Aditis. So what I can say is that what does it mean? First sentence is telling you that my name is Aditi. Then Aditi teaches English and Aditi is teaching pronoun today. So what happens is it is not very clear if the second sentence or the third sentence is about me, because who will talk about themselves in third person? So what happens is instead of using my name again and again, what I can do is my name is Aditi, I teach English, I am teaching pronoun today. So what happens? He, she, it, all of them are pronoun. Okay. So now first comes the kinds of pronoun. Okay. So the first kind is personal pronoun. Okay. So the first one is personal pronoun. So before we know what personal pronouns are, like if I tell you it is I, we, you, he, she, it and they. So before all of it, before understanding what personal pronouns are, so first we need to understand the depth of it. So personal pronouns basically are nothing but the noun pronouns which are used in the name, in the place of nouns referring to persons. That means if we are talking about, like I gave you two examples about me, Aditi, and about Sita. So what happens is these two examples are the examples of personal pronouns. Okay. So when we use pronouns in place of nouns referring to person, that means nouns which are referring to persons, in that place if we use pronouns, those are personal pronouns. So now, because we are just going to touch basics, that means very basics for all of you who do not know about it. So first one is first person. What exactly is first person? Then comes second person. Then comes third person. So what are they? First person is basically the speaker. That means the person who's speaking. That is first person. Then second person is who? Second person is the listener. That means the person the speaker is speaking to. And the third person is the person about whom they are speaking. That means about whom first and second person are speaking are third person. Okay. So very easy way to know is if you're having a conversation, one person is going to speak, so that becomes first person. The person who's listening to that conversation is the second person, and the person about whom they are speaking, that means जिसके बारे में बात हो रही है, that is the third person. So what are first person, second person pronouns? First person is who's speaking right now. I am speaking. So I is first person. And that also it is singular. Okay. And one more thing, in plural form, that means if I am in a group and if I say I'm singing and there are few persons I'm singing with, that becomes plural. So with plural, the first person pronoun is we. First person pronoun with singular is I. And they both are gender neutral. That means if I say we are singing, so you will not be able to tell who's, if in we there are male, there are female, or they are both. Okay. So this is basically similarly, if we say I am eating an ice cream, who is I? Male, female. So these are all gender neutral. Okay. Then comes the second. Second means if I am talking to somebody, then if I tell them तुम क्या कर रहे हो, in Hindi that's तुम is you in English. आप, तुम, तू, everything is you. And you is same for singular also, for plural also. That means if it's singular, if it's plural, the second person is always you. Okay. And this is also gender neutral. If I tell you, what are you doing? Here by you, you cannot tell if I'm talking to a girl or a boy. That means male, female, you cannot tell the gender. So this is also gender neutral. Then comes the third person, that means the person that who's being spoken about. Here comes he, she, it, and they. Now they are not. That means third person means जिसके बारे में बात हो रही है, the person who are being spoken about. So he is male. For masculine we use he. For feminine, that means females. For males, okay, for male we are using he, for females we are using she. It comes for when you don't know the gender, or for non-living we use it. Non-living, or we don't know the gender also. Like table you don't know if table is he, she, or what, so we use it. And then comes they. All three of them, these three are singular. For plural it is they. Okay, understood? So these are not gender neutral. Not. Understood? So personal pronouns, you should know there is first person, second person, third person. Then they have singular, plural also. Only for second person we just have one pronoun, that is you. Third person you have gender based also, and singular, plural basis also. Okay, now these all are what? These all are subjective or nominative form. What do you mean by subjective and nominative? See, I could have taught you in nouns also, but I did not wish to do that. In pronouns, you understand it better, the concept of subjective and nominative and objective. So let me rub it out. Okay. So what comes right now, what we are talking about? Subjective case. Subjective case, what happens is, in subjective case, you are the subject, means you are the doer of the action. That means you are doing work, you are doing action, then you are subject. That means if I am the active person, I am eating, he is eating, she is playing, they are singing, so she is cooking. So basically what are these they are the doer of the action, so they are subject. So this is in first person, second person, and third person. That means speaker, listener, and the person being referred to or being talked about or being spoken about. Okay, so what happens? First person, subjective case. That means doer. When we know that the person is doing the action, see, when there is a subjective case, that means doer of action. So doer of action is subjective case. Okay, and nominative case also we can say. So first person pronoun is I and we. That means you are the doing of the act, you are the doer of the action, you will use I and we. For second person it is you. For third person it is he, she, it, and they. Now what happens? We can the doer of we can be the receiver of the action also. That means we can be the objects also. So objective in object, so what it is called? Objective case. This is called subjective case. So in objective case, that means when you are not active, now you are not doing the action, either you are the receiver of the action in the sentence. So in first person, what is the form of objective case? It's me. Okay, second second person, third person. Now one more thing is reflexive, demonstrative, and reflexive. So let's just first study the other type of noun pronouns first, then we'll again come back to this. Okay, so it will be clear. So for personal, I hope you understood first person, second person, third person, subjective, objective. Now we'll talk about demonstrative also, we'll talk about reflexive also, but first let's go through nouns and then again come back to it. So you will be clear with what I'm about to tell you. So what happens in demonstrative is, what are demonstrative pronouns? Basically, these are the words used for pronouns to point out the objects. When you are pointing out the object, then they are demonstrative. That means the examples is this, that, these, those. So I'm sure most of you know, but we'll still discuss this and that. This and that are singular, and these and those are plural. First, be very clear which are singular, which are plural. That means which are you going, when there's a single entity involved, you are going to use this and that, and then there are more than one entity involved, you are going to use these and those. So what is, when do we use this? This means something when you are referring to something which the object which is nearby. Whenever the object is nearby, you say this. When it is little far away, which is little far of your reach, you say that. Okay, when it is within your limit, you say this. Similarly, these means many objects, more than one objects which are within your reach, and those are with many objects which are not in your reach. So this means, example we can take it, this is the book. If I have that in my hand, or if I have just that on my table, I'll use this. And that means that is the book. That means it is far away from me. These are the pens. Now there are so many pens, so I'm not going to say these are the pens. These are the pens. And if those are the trees, That means they are far away and there are many trees. Okay. Then comes the third, which is relative. Relative is nothing. That means the pronouns which first relative means just they are going to take relative. First they are going to connect the sentence. Moreover, they are going to say tell the relation, or they are going to talk about the subject. Okay, they are going to express the relation, and or they are going to talk about the subject. So here we'll understand this by example. The man who has just entered the room is my friend. That means we are talking about the man. What has that man done? He has just entered the room and he happens to be my friend. Okay, so who is telling about the per man, the subject who has just entered? What has the man done? He has just entered. Same way, the book. Which book I'm talking about? That book which I bought. Okay, in this sentence, the book that I bought is very costly. Now that is relative pronoun. Why? Because it is talking about the book. And what about that book? That book which I bought is very costly. Okay, understood. So we are going to tell about the relation. So words used for nouns to express the functions relating to who, which, that, whose, whom, etc. Okay, so this is it. Okay, now I'm going to just rub it off so that you can read it later. Now comes the second slide. Interrogative pronouns. Interrogative pronouns means which just tells about the functions. Okay, so functions means, interrogative means when you are going to ask the questions. I'm so sorry about the word use of functions. I meant questions. So interrogative pronouns means whenever there are questions involved, and wherever nouns have questions, we are going to use the interrogative pronouns, which is who, what, which, whose, whom. Now the easiest way to understand them is we just relate them to their Hindi meaning. So what happens is spotting the error becomes very easy when you know. Okay, so you can just, if the exam has such type of questions and they have errors, what you can do is you can just convert them in their Hindi counterparts, and then you can understand exactly what, if the use of that particular interrogative pronoun is correct or not, because the error is that only. What happens is they give you the wrong interrogative pronoun. Who took my book bag means who took my bag means किसने मेरा बैग लिया. So who is, whom did you meet? तुम किसको मिले? So that is किसको. Who basically is कौन. Okay, that means who are you, कौन हो तुम. Whose books are these? ये किसकी किताबें हैं? Okay, what are you doing? What is क्या? Understood? Who took my bag? किसने मेरा बैग लिया? Whom did you meet? तुम किससे मिले? Whose books are these? ये किसकी किताबें हैं? What are you doing? तुम क्या कर रहे हो? So definitely you will use it better if you are going to just convert them in Hindi. So this will be very easy. The questions will be very easy. Now comes the next one. That is indefinite pronouns. Indefinite pronouns means when you are not talking about some definite person. They are used for nouns in vague and general meaning. Vague, I hope you all know the meaning. It means unclear. That means you don't have a clear person you're talking about. So for example, I entered auditorium and I have entered an auditorium and I don't know anybody. And then suddenly I ask, and everyone is attracted to some painting. So I can just go and ask, where are everybody engaged. So that means everybody means सब लोग. Nobody means कोई नहीं. Nobody, that means not a single person. Somebody is somebody, somebody, if you can see, some means kuch, there are some people. So every means everybody. If there are 10 persons, so we can just understand the meaning by, suppose there is a room and we have 10 persons, if all 10 are eating, then we'll refer to that everybody. Okay, if 0 persons are eating, then we'll say nobody. If for example 2, 3, 4, more than 0 and less than 10 are eating, then we'll just say somebody. That means out of whoever those are present, there are few people who are eating. Okay, so either, neither, all, much, several, each, others, another, we'll understand their meaning as, because they are going to come in the rules. Only by the examples we'll understand their meaning. So either, also need either, neither, all, much, several, each, others, another, they all talk about that. So in rules we are going to study further. Reflexive pronouns. Reflexing means they are used as forms of personal pronouns for emphasis. When you have to put emphasis on something, do it. If I tell you do it, that means tum kar, you do it, or do it, that means kar lo ye kaam. And if I tell you do it yourself, so I'm putting emphasis on yourself, that means you have to do it yourself, means without any help. So we are going to put emphasis there. So I did my homework myself. So whenever you have to put emphasis, या कहीं किसी चीज को जोर लगा के बोलना है कि हाँ ये हमने खुद ने किया है, किसी और ने किया है, so we are, whenever the emphasis you have to put on the pronoun, that means ये मैंने खुद किया है या ये उस इंसान ने खुद किया है, तो you have to do, when you have to put emphasis, you use the reflexive pronouns. Okay, now comes the distributive ones. What are see, you don't worry about if you are not able to you don't have to learn there are 8 type of pronoun and all that. You just have to understand the meaning of pronoun and what are the different, for example, you should know who, what, which, whose, whom, everything you should know. Okay, now comes distributive. Distributives are for individuals and object, refer to them as one at a time. In easy language, if not in this language, if I tell you, for example, I'm talking about 2 persons or more than 2 persons, and I'm not referring to I suppose there are 2 sisters and I'm talking about one of them. So what happens? I'll use these distributive pronouns. Or there are many students, I'm talking about only few or that one, then what happens? We are going to use distributive pronouns. That means there are more than many objects and you are not talking about all of them, but you're talking about them one at a time. That means I'm right now out of 100, I'm talking about this one, then I'm talking about that one. So we are going to use distributive pronouns. And what are distributive? Either, neither, each, every, none, anyone. And don't think that, see, these are not like nouns that you are going to use them that like nouns, proper noun, common noun, they are not exclusive to each other. Okay, they can be, like, if you see, either is here in distributive pronoun also, in indefinite pronoun also. So you should just know that they are pronoun, where we use, what is the rule, you should know that first. You don't, if even if you don't know if they are distributive, indefinite, that is also okay. If you're not able to remember that, that is completely okay, but you should know their use first. So what happens? Either means इनमें से कोई, that means either of them, just one person, ये या फिर ये. Neither means ये भी नहीं और ये भी नहीं. Okay, each means each, हर एक. Every means everyone, like everyone, every means all of. None, कोई नहीं. Anyone, just a single person. सब में से कोई भी एक. So either of the 2 sisters is staying here. Now you see, first we are using either. Okay, of the two sisters. That means दो बहनों में से, इन दोनों बहनों में से कोई एक. We are not saying ये बहन या ये बहन, but we are saying इन दोनों में से कोई एक. So we are going to use is. Many of the people use are, which is wrong, because we are not talking about both the sisters. We are talking about only, we are telling that there are two sisters, but either of the two sisters. That means उनमें से कोई एक. So जब एक कोई काम करेगा तो उसके साथ is आएगा. Okay. So either of the two sisters is staying here. The second is neither. So neither also is singular. That means neither of his arms. यानी दोनों में से कोई नहीं is defective. That means दोनों हाथों में से एक भी defective नहीं है. तो neither will also take singular verb. You can take either room. तुम कोई भी कमरा ले सकते हो. That means any room. You can talk to each boy. That means you can go and talk to each person. We are talking about them one at a time. There can be 100 boys, but you can go and talk to each boy. Means what I mean is that you can go and talk to each one of them. Individually you can go and talk, and you have the right to talk to each boy. हर एक लड़का. Every means सब लड़के. Okay. Now comes the next one, reciprocal pronouns. Reciprocal pronouns are nothing but they tell you the mutual relationship. If I tell you we respect each other means अगर मैं, if I am respecting you, you are also respecting me. So when I am doing something for you and you are also doing the same thing for me, that will take each other. Now there's a difference between each other and one another. I'll just tell you here itself. What happens is when there are two persons, like if I and one person and any other person is involved, in I take and I say we talk to each other daily. That means if I'm talking to the person, he's also talking to me or she's also talking to me. So each other. Okay. Now, for example, if we are four friends and I tell you all four of us talk to each other, that will be wrong. That because there are two persons, only when there are two persons we are going to use each other. But if there are more than two persons, like right now what I told you, all four friends talk to one another. We are going to use one another because there are four friends. If I have told you those the two friends talk to each other, but the four friends talk to one another. You understood? When there are two persons. See, it cannot be used for single person because why it cannot be used for single person, one another and each other? Because it is a mutual relationship. Okay, if you see this one. This is a mutual relationship. Mutual relationship will be when there are two persons involved. So minimum two persons should be there. But if more than two persons are there, we are going to use one another. If only two persons are there, we are going to use each other. So the example is both the brothers love each other. Indians should not fight with one another. Okay. You understood? So these are basically the type of nouns. We'll again come back to this. But first, let's go on rules. Because after rules, what happen is you yourself will know what happened, what is, if that is correct or not. But if you want, I can just give you this. Okay. See, you just remember here, no, reflexive. Reflexive is putting emphasis. Demonstrative, you have read here, which points out to objects. Okay. No, this is not going to be demonstrative. This is going to be possessive. Possession. If we want to talk about possession. Okay, that means, okay. So now let's start. Again, come back to this first person, second person, and here was the third person. Okay, so what happened was first person, when the pronoun was the doer of action, we were using for first person I and we. But when they are the receiver of the action, so I becomes me. He talked to me. So who's doing the action? He. What is he doing in action? He's talking. And who is he talking to? Me. So me becomes the receiver of the action. So here me. Okay. Similarly, you. You means you is, you will be you only. You for subjective, objective, you. I am talking to you. Again, who's talking? I. And then who's the listener? Who's the receiver of the action? You. But it's, we are still going to use you. In here, if you see, when you is the object, you were studying. That means here still, so you will remain you in objective also, in subjective also. That means even if the receiver of the action, doer of the action, second person is always you. Okay. Third person, he becomes him. She become her. They become them. It become, it is it only. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay. So now in possession case, what happens is, possession means when I'm talking about my ownership on something. So this becomes my or mine, your or yours, his, her, its, their. In reflexive, myself, myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, themselves. Like from here it is coming. Okay, I think I forgot to tell you about we. Yes, I forgot to tell you about we here. We is our. Our is ourself. And possession is ours. Okay. Understood? So this is the subjective, objective, possession and reflexive. Possession, if you see, you are going to, when we are going to use the rules, you will understand them better. I don't want to emphasize everything here because then it will be too confusing. So for now, you should just know subjective, objective, possessive case and reflexive. So you understand subjective. Subjective is doer of action, objective is receiver of action. Possession is when we show our ownership on something, and reflexive is when you're talking about something but with emphasis on it. Okay, so that becomes reflexive. So for first person all the forms, for second person all the forms of pronoun, for third person all the pronouns. I think in he, she, it, and it becomes only. So now come to rule. Let's discuss rules. First rule says when the subject of the verb is the receiver of the action is said to be reflected. Such verbs are reflexive, which we have already told you. I have already told you. So what happens is, when, see, there are few verbs. Verbs, you know what are verbs? Verbs are basically action. I mean, what is happening when the words tell you what exactly is happening. Swimming, eating, or I'm swimming, eating, cooking. All these cook, swim, eat, walk, run. These are all actions, and these are called verbs. So verbs are basically action words. Okay. So here I'm talking about what happens when the subject of the verb is receiver of the action. So here what happens is, we'll understand. First you read these. Rather than emphasizing this, we'll understand through very examples, because first always understand, first you go through the examples first, because what happens when you're going to read the rule, you might not understand it. So better go for the example first and then read the rule. You'll understand better. So first you see the words here. acquit, absent, avail, reconcile, amuse, resign, avenge, revenge, enjoy, exert, apply, adapt, adjust, pride. Okay, so you see these words. So what happens in these words is when you use these words and then the first read the example. They enjoyed themselves during summer vacation. What we usually do is you say, I enjoyed at the party. You never you because that is error. Grammatically, there's an error when you tell that I enjoyed at the party. No, you what you did not, you were the receiver of the action. Enjoyment was received by you. That means you enjoyed. So whenever you enjoyed, that means you then becomes myself. Okay, because you are receiving the enjoyment. So I enjoyed the party. When you are saying I enjoyed the party, that means you, what did you enjoy? You enjoyed the party. So basically you here you are the uh, doer of the action, that you are enjoying. What you are enjoying? You are enjoying the party. Here you are not going to use the reflexive case. But what happens is, in you understand there are different, you understand the difference of the sentence. When I say I enjoyed the party, so what you did, you are the receiver of what? Enjoyment. You did not enjoy, you received the enjoyment of the party. So the correct grammatical way is I enjoyed myself at the party. Okay, there's a difference. I enjoyed the party and I enjoyed the party. I enjoyed the party, I enjoyed at the party. There's a difference. Okay, so first let's go by this. They enjoyed themselves during summer vacations. So what happens? They enjoyed what? They are the receiver. So they enjoyed themselves because there are they, and you know the we have just studied the reflexive case of they is themselves. So they enjoyed themselves during summer vacation. The former DM acquitted very efficiently. So acquitted very efficiently, acquit means to be free. So former DM was free very efficiently, मतलब बड़ी ही आसानी से, बड़ी ही चालाकी से, या ऐसे बोलो एफिशिएंटली, बड़ी ही सही तरीके से वो फ्री हो गया. तो फ्री, वो फ्री हुआ है और he is the receiver of being acquittal. So here we are going to use himself. The former DM acquitted himself very efficiently. He absented from the class. No, either he was absent from the class, and when he absented, then he have absented himself from the class. He is the receiver of the action absent. That means absent is the action and he was absent and he was the receiver of this absence. Then it is going to take himself. You should avail every chance in life. You should avail, yourself will come. You should avail yourself. That means aapko, you, who is availing? You are the receiver of the availing of every chance. So you are going to use here reflexive word. He resigned to his failure. He resigned himself to his failure is the right. So I hope you understood it. Okay, so these words, what happens is these words are going to use acquit. You just remember these are very few words, and this is not going to be very difficult to memorize. Not memorize also, you will yourself know that you are going to use reflexive form with these verbs. These are all verbs. And what happens now, understand, when the subject of the verb, that means who's the subject? These are the subjects. Former DM, absent, no sorry, he, you, he. Okay. So who are the subjects? These are the subject. Okay. He, you, and ye. So these are the subjects. What the rule is saying, when the subject of the verb, verb is, these are the verbs, acquittal, absent, when they are the receiver of the action. Now you know, that means the action is said to be reflected. Now they enjoyed. during. Then enjoyment is being received by them. Acquittal was received by DM. Absence was received by him. Availment was avail availment was received by you. This resigned was received by he. So we are going to use the reflexive pronouns here. Themselves, himself. Okay. So now do you understand the meaning after reading the examples? This is clear. I hope it is clear to you now. Okay, so now let's go back to the second rule. Second rule says a reflexive pronoun cannot act as a subject or object of a verb until it is preceded. See, again, don't read the rule. What happens is, what I mean to say is, you must have been introduced, or there must have been introduction in the classes, or you must have in any seminar, and there must have been just one person, at least one person, who would have said myself this. There you'll know, you'll hear somebody's introduction and somebody is definitely going to introduce himself or herself like myself this and this. So this is very wrong. Grammatically you never say myself, you'll always say I am this. Myself, reflexive pronouns never can be subjects. Always remember that. They cannot be a subject. For example, unless, now there's a rule to it, unless it is preceded by pronoun or noun concerned. Okay. So, what happens is, myself will see to it that you get your share of property. What is myself? No, I will see to it. Yourself and he reach there. What is yourself and he? It should be you and he reach there in time. I myself like him. Now you see, it is preceded just by noun or pronoun. Like Sita herself was present. That means Sita, now I told you these are reflexive are just for the emphasis. So Sita was present means we just want to add little drama. We will say Sita herself was present. Okay, there might be a chance that Sita is a very big celebrity and she herself was present at the event, makes it dramatic or little more emphasis on her presence. So Sita herself was present, she herself was present, makes sense. But it will never be herself, Sita, herself, he was present. Okay, herself, she was present. It is wrong. Herself, she was present is wrong. Understood? So the rules, you understood. Rule says reflexive pronoun cannot be used as a subject. They can only be used as subject when they have preceding. Preceding means they have a noun or a pronoun just before them. Okay, Raj will do it for himself. Sorry, Raj will do it for myself and my sister. For me and my sister. What is myself? There could have been Raj himself will do it. Raj himself will do it is correct. But Raj will do it for myself is wrong. Okay. So now comes the third rule. It says, I hope you know, first you know, all of you, what are to be verbs. You know verbs are there. Verbs are action words, which I told you, acquit, absent and all that, which tells you basically what the action is. To be verbs basically are is, am, are, was and were. Okay, we are going to study them in our class also. Verb will definitely take 2 lectures because it is a little lengthy topic. So for now you just understand to be verbs, that is, am, are, was, were. They should be followed by subjective form when complement is pronoun. What does it mean is, let's go to rule. What is our rule? To read the example. It is me who have brought you home. No, it is not me. It is I. Because why I see, you understand the reason here. Why I am using I and not me. See, it is me who have brought you home. So basically, what is the action? Buying, brought is action. Sorry, buying, not bringing. Sorry, this bring word, this is the second form of bring, not bought. I think it, no, 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 no. I'm so sorry. I think the sentence is a little wrong. It will, how can somebody brought, I think brought means they mean they have come to the, bring, brought to their home. Okay. To, brought you, we make it little clear because the sentence is very poorly framed. So, okay, so our sentence is, it is me who have brought you to my home. That means मैं तुम्हें मेरे घर लाया. So here action is what? Brought. Action is what? Bringing. तुम, you are bringing somebody home. I brought you home. So who's the, you is basically here, he is just the receiver of being brought. He, who has been brought home? He has been brought to whose home? To my home. So, but who's bringing? I am bringing. So you will never use me. Okay, me is used when I told you, when you are the receiver of the action, but here you are not the receiver of action because of who. It feels like, or it feels like that me, you are not the receiver of the action, it is the subject. No, but the subjective case is me. Okay. Second sentence says, what was it her who did it for you? Was it she? Why not her? Because, like I told you, who did it? Who's doing? Did is the verb. Who did it? She did it. So she is the doer of the action. So she will be coming, will be the correct word here, pronoun here. It will be us who will buy a new house. It will be we. Who is going to buy? We. So not us. It will be we. Okay. So the rule says, so whatever the rule says, to be should be followed by subjective form. To be, that means these, to be followed by, it should be all followed by, these all should be followed by subjective form. Subject, object, I hope you know very clearly. Now let's move to the fourth rule. Fourth rule is very easy, between you and I. And see, this is very, basically when I told you subjective objective case, my whole purpose was because the rules are going to have them. So the verbs and the prepositions are followed by objective case. Whenever the prepositions are there, whenever the verbs are there, they are going to be followed by the objective case. That means between you and I, Suhani is intelligent. Is I doing anything? No. Between you and, because it is followed by what? Exactly followed by preposition. So we are going to use me. She is teaching Rohit and she, not she. She is subjective case, so we are going to use the objective case her here. Let they go. No, let them go. And always remember, let takes the objective case, never the subjective case. After let, you always use objective case. Not, this rule is not just in the pronouns I'm telling you generally. Now the fifth rule, you see, fifth rule is very interesting. It's interesting in the way, like when you're talking about something good that has happened. See, for example, there are three persons, like I told you, first person, second person, and third person. Okay, first person, second person, third person is there. If, for example, I'm talking about myself, let's take the first person as I, let's take the second person which is you only, and let's just imagine, suppose there is Sita. Oh, my favorite name in this lecture. So what happens? I use Sita. So what happens? For example, let's just imagine I use Sita did some test or something, and the result comes for the test. Now there are two possibilities of the result. It could be, the result could be the positive or the negative. Okay, so let's start with the positive first. Whenever, suppose we all passed the exam, there was some test or exam and we all passed, the result is positive. So how are we going to say, if I tell you about the result of Sita, I and you, that means there are of these three. If I tell you the result that we all three have passed, how am I going to tell you? So this is very interesting, understand. Whenever you are going to tell you about, when suppose when you're going to tell something good, how you are going to say? First the person you're speaking to, that means the second person, you will tell you, because the person you are informing. आपको अपने किसी दोस्त को बोलना है, तो आप अपने दोस्त के पास गए, you have two friends, you went to one of them, which is you, and the third friend was Sita, and then I is you yourself are I, and then you went and you told, आपने उसको जाके बताया यार हम पास हो गए, तो कैसे बताओगे? You, तो पहले आप बताओगे you, Sita, and I have passed. So basically, when there's something good, you are going to be the last person. You, Sita, and I have passed the exam. That means we all three have passed the exam. Now comes, suppose we failed that exam. So what you are going to do? Again, you are going to say, you, Sita, and I have failed the exam? No. When you are going to tell something bad news, you have to convey. That time you are going to be Mahendra Singh Dhoni and you're going to step in. That means just like Mahendra Singh Dhoni, who when he wins the cup, he's at the back. When he wins, when he's at the start, like the true leader. So here what happens, when you're going to convey the bad news, you're going to tell yourself, you're going to put yourself as a leader and say, I, then you, and the last person, Sita. I, you, and Sita have failed the exam. So this is very interesting. जब आप अच्छी बात बता रहे हो, कोई अच्छी चीज हुई हो, पहले आप रखोगे जिससे बात कर रहे हो, जिसके बारे में बात कर रहे हो, और फिर खुद को. That means second person, third person, and then the first person. But अगर कोई बुरी बात हुई हो, punishment मिली हो, suppose कोई punishment मिली है तो suppose reward मिला, तो you are going to say you, Sita, and I are rewarded. But अगर punishment मिली तो I, you, and Sita are punished. So this is very interesting. So this rule is all about Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Remember Mahendra Singh Dhoni and then go for this rule. So I'm not going to go for the examples of this rule. You just read it out in the PDF we are going to provide, and also in the, you can just pause the video and you can just go through them and then read it. Okay, now comes the next rule, sixth one. It is about both basically. So first it says that usually what happens is in exam, when you have to spot the error, now what they should do is both is used for what? Both means for two persons. Both, you and I both. Okay, for two persons it's both. First thing. Then what happens is sometimes how do they connect? Both you as well as my brothers. Very common mistake that comes in exam. What they do is they use both pronoun or noun or pronoun, because this is, if I'm teaching you this rule in noun or pronoun, doesn't mean that if I'm teaching you in pronoun doesn't mean it is not going to be in the noun. So basically this rule is common. There can be noun also, there can be pronoun also. So both, some noun or pronoun, they add it with, as well as, then again some noun or pronoun. So now you see how wrong it is. Both you as well as I. What does it know? This is wrong. what the rule says, as well as not as well as and. So both will always be followed by and. Followed means both, after both pronoun or noun will come, then and will come, then noun or pronoun will come, and then anything you are conveying. So let's go for the example first. So what happens? Both you, let's just strike this as well as, because I have already told you, both you and my brother are going to attend her marriage tomorrow. So both two persons, we are talking about my brother and you, and it will be connected by both. So the rule says both will take, first rule says that the both will take and. Then it says both of them are not going there. So both you always use in the positive sense. That means if you are conveying something positive, both me and both him and me are eating. That means हम दोनों कोई काम कर रहे हैं, we are doing something. Both, when two persons, they are positive, they are doing something, we are going to use both there. For two persons, both, when they are doer of action, or when they are, then there's a positivity there. But when we are using it in a negative way, that means both are not going. We are not going to say both are not going. We are going to say both of them are not going is incorrect. What is correct is basically neither of them is not going. Sorry, neither of them is going. Not going, because neither itself is negative, so you're not going to put negative and negative. Okay, so what happens is, when you have used neither, you can just use neither of them are, no, neither of them is going. Like I told you, neither, either will take singular. Okay, first let me rub this off, then I'll just tell you about both again. So both, I have told you the two rules. That means first both will be followed by and second both is just used for the positive thing. Both of you are not going is not correct. Neither of you is going is correct. So both, first rule about both says it will take and. That means if two persons are involved, first and second, there are any two persons. Person means not first person, second person, third person. I am talking about any two things, two objects. Let's just say for each, two objects. When two objects are attached, that means both first object and second object, it will be, first rule says it is going to be connected by and the second says it is going to be positive. We are not going to use it for negative. Like here, both of them are not going is wrong. Neither of them is going. That means इनमें से कोई नहीं जा रहा. Neither of them is not going also is incorrect. Understood? Now very interesting thing. First, both of them are eating. So first thing, if you see, if I don't use them here, I use both you and me. So first rule says it is connected by and. Second rule says it is, that means we are doing it. It's not that not eating. If not eating was there, we would have used neither. Okay, but first rule says and, second rule says it is positive, and third I'm telling you here both will take, because we are talking about two persons, so this is going to be plural. The to be verb is going to be plural, because here we are talking about more than one person. Both means two persons. So more than one, of course two persons are there and more than one is there. So it is going to take this plural. Understood? So both has three rules. One, it is connected by and. Second, it is positive. Third, it is going to take the plural to be verb. Understood? Let's move to the next rule. Next rule. See, there are some words, like for example, there are two subjects, he and his friends. So first subject is what? he. Second subject, his friends. Suppose if these two subjects are connected with, as well as together with, along with, and not in addition to, like, unlike, with, rather, basically all these you read. So what happens is, see, I'll tell you this rule. This is very interesting rule here, because we are studying pronoun, no? So they are just talking about the possessive case and about pronoun also. But this is, all these rules are for noun also, for the pronoun also, and some are not just for pronoun but for verb as well. So how I'll tell you, see, take this example. Let's just take the example only. Rather than making my example, I'll just take this example which I have typed. See, I have typed you read the sentence. The teacher as well as his students is present at, the conference to discuss his project on effects of biogas on environment. Okay, now there are two subjects. First subject is teacher, second subject is his students, and they are connected with what? As well as. Okay, now first I'll just tell you this verb subject verb agreement also here. What happens when with, along with, together with, no, not only but also, when all these are, when these are connecting the subjects, what happens is the to be verb comes according to the first subject. What do I mean? You see, first subject is teacher, and I'm not using teachers here. I'm talking about teacher, just one teacher. That means my subject is singular, as well as his students. See, as well as his students. So his students here are plural. So first subject is singular, second subject is plural, and they are connected with as well as, these ones. If any of these they are connected with, okay. So what happens? According to this rule, when I talk about, because I'm teaching pronoun, so let me tell you first about pronoun only. So the two subjects are connected with this. First is singular, second is plural. If you see, is present at the conference to discuss his project. Why I'm not using their project? Because it is going to come according to the first subject. So there is not going to be correct. So the correct is his only. So what happens? The possessive case, that means the ownership of the project is going to be according to the first subject. If I would have used the students as well as teachers is present at the conference to discuss their projects. Why? Because students was the first subject. So what understood? When they are connected with, along with, together with, as well as, in addition to, like, unlike, rather than, except, no less than, nothing but, more than. So what happens is, when these are connected, when the subjects are connected with these words, so the possessive case of pronoun will come according to the first subject. Similarly, even the verb, to be verb is going to be according to the first subject. Okay, that means, because the teacher is singular, I'm using is. What if the subject was, if we interchange the subjects? Okay, now let's just imagine I make this first and I make this second. So read it like this. Not his, let's take the students. Okay, so see, this is also, his is coming according to the first subject. Possessive case, see, students also coming to the, so this all is coming according to the first subject. So let's just move to the rule. Let's just interchange it. So what I'm saying, the students as well as the teacher are present at the conference to discuss their project on effects of biogas on environment. Understood? Similarly, the queen along with her servants embarked on the journey to discover her real duties as a royalty. Understood? Okay. Now, the second one comes when the two subjects are connected with either or, neither or, not only but also, none but. So what happens? The possessive case is again according to the, here for all these words it was according to the first subject. Whichever was the first subject, the possessive case was according to the noun, the pronoun, the possessive case of pronoun was according to the first subject. Here it is to the nearest. That means the whatever that is going to come second is going to be the possessive case. Let's see by example. Neither he or his friends have. If you see here, subject verb agreement, I'll tell later. Either he or his friends have done their homework. So their homework is according to friends. If it was connected by he as well as his friends has done his homework, it would have been according to first. If the words which we have studied here would have been the connecting ones. But now, right now, when we are having either or, neither or, not only but also, none or but, so what happens is it is according to the second subject. So there has the possessive case have come according to which is the nearest one. It is followed by the second subject. So this is going in accordance with the, this will be in accordance with the second subject. Okay, and similarly verb is also according to this second because it is nearest to the second. Similarly, either her friends or she has left her book. So for second subject is she, so according to that has come, and possessive case has come. Okay, you remember these rules, especially these rules of verb also, because when we are going to study subject verb, like the, at least for pronouns, if you see it is, we are continuously using the word verb. So all these rules will again be taught, but in form of verb, which I've already told you here. Like I gave you the rule of is, have, and all that. So I've already given you for your information. I could have skipped it, but I did not wish to, because second time if you're going to see the video, you'll understand it better. Once you are studying, good. Second time, it's always better. So when one is used as a subject, this is very easy. See what happens in an exam, they say one should respect their religion. No means not that you should not respect the religion. What I mean to say is there is not going to be here one. If we are using one as a subject, then the possessive case will always be ones. Always remember, when your subject is one, the possessive case is always ones, and reflexive is oneself. Okay, one is the subject, then this is the subjective case. Of course, this is subject, so this is subjective case. One's is possessive and oneself is reflexive. Okay, so this is a very, but this they always give in exam, they always change it. And you know what, even despite knowing the rule, what happens is you tend not to give attention to it. So whenever any sentence is starting with one is the subject, always use the possessive case as once, or the reflexive case as oneself. What they do is they give herself, they give himself, they give themselves. One would have once as possessive case and oneself as reflexive case. Understood? Now comes the other rule, either, neither, each other, See, you all know this I've already told. Either, neither, each, other. When you, of course, for these you need two persons at least, and just two persons only. First thing, usually you must have heard people saying, either you are coming with me and not. I have heard people here telling this also. So what happens is, usually people, when even there's one subject, people are using the this, either, neither, but you do that. Okay, either, neither, each other. Of course, each other I told you already in this rule. Each other and one another. If you remember, when we were reading that rule, I already told you each other is for two persons, one another is more than two. So just leave it them here. But for now, I want to tell either and neither, at least two subjects will be there. Either of the two, neither of the two. So at least two. And more than two is also not allowed. So either, neither means two persons, two things, two objects. Same, anyone and none, more than two. If you say any one of you, you do not either one of you. No, if there are more than two persons, you are going to ask any one of you wants water. You don't ask either one of you wants water. No, that's wrong. And also, neither of them have done homework. Them means when there are only two persons, but none of them have done their work correct. None means more than two. So understood, either, neither, each other, two, and anyone, none, and one another, more than two. We'll just clear this off so that you understand that better if you are pausing to it. Okay, I think this is clear. Just add T here. T is good because this is wrong. Okay. Now move to the next rules. I think this is very easy. What happens is, when there are more than two persons involved, what happens? More than two persons. That means when you have a choice between more than two persons, you are not going to use who. You will always use which. Now, let's understand it better with example. Of the two sisters, which is the more intelligent? So basically, when we are referring to a choice between two or more than two things, so that means when you have a choice, you are asking a question. You are asking which okay. So when there's a choice, so the word here, the keyword is when you have a choice between two or more than two or more than two persons. So what happens is, like, of the two sisters, which is the more intelligent? Who is the more intelligent is wrong. Who is your father is correct. But which is your father in the crowd? Because in the crowd there might be many fathers. Of course there will be many fathers. If there's a crowd, there'll be so many father, son, father, daughter, the pair will be there. So what happens, if you ask personally to somebody, just directing to one person, you'll ask who is your father. But out of the crowd, which one is your father? If there are 20 pens, you are going to ask which one is your pen. इन सब पेन में तुम्हारा कौन सा है? So when there's choice, you don't use who. In fact, what you do is you use which. Okay. So you please read all these three sentences. So similarly, you read the sentence, then you will understand, because many of you must be doing this mistake. I'm sure many of you will be doing this mistake. So what happens? I shall give you a book and the same is very useful. You never say that. The same is very wrong to say. What you'll say? I shall give you a book and it is very useful. You use pronoun. What is the same? I am sure you all must have done this. He bought a house and is living in the same. is living in it. Okay. Similarly, sometimes but is used a relative pronoun. Relative means, see, there was none but wept. I think, yeah, don't read the sentence. Yeah, this sentence is not correctly framed, so just don't read it. Just ignore this one. Let's just move to the second example. There is no country but is corrupt. इसका मतलब क्या है? What does it mean? That means there is no country. कोई ऐसी country नहीं है. But is correct means जो कि corrupt ना हो. Okay. I have no option but sleep. That means सोने के अलावा मेरे पास कोई option नहीं है. That means sleep is the only option which I have. Similarly, no country, there is no country but is correct. Okay. So basically the use of but can be used as a relative pronoun here. So what happens is, if you are going to, you'll understand this rule way better when we are going to start doing the exercises. See, I could have put the questions for the exercises or the practice. Why I did not wish to do the same? Because it's very easy to learn pronoun and just solve the very similar, solve the questions based on those very rules. Basically, what is the correct approach is, you read the rules, you get the mix of the questions, and then you correct it. So what happens, I think we are done with this is the third lecture. Noun we have done, pronoun we have done. So I think we'll take one or two class, and then based on all those rules, and until it becomes some khichdi in your mind and you don't know where, if there's error or not, then we are going to do it. Why? Because that's when your real knowledge for the rule, or what you know about grammar, will be tested. So let's go to the 12th rule. What the 12th rule says, yeah, see this rule, you can read it all yourself. This is a very stupid rule. The relative pronoun should be expressed according to its relationship with the verb, who is used as a subject of verb and whom is used as a subject of a verb of adjective clause. Yeah, basically they are talking about when to use who and whom. See, this is very important. So what I want to tell you is, I think I have put, yes, of course I have put examples, the good part. So let's study this with examples. I think most of you will be knowing it, but there could be people who might be having some confusion in it. So let's just read these examples. He was talking of the women who he said he met in America. Who, not who, whom he met. I'll tell you why. She is the kind of lady whom everybody knows. No. Who everybody knows. So now what happens is, here he, what he is the subject. What is he doing? He's talking. That means the verb. What is he talking about? Women. She is the object. So whenever, see, these are relative pronouns because they are telling you the relation about the what is being talked and what is being talked about, that women. Okay. So this is relative pronoun that which we have seen in the earlier example. Now you see here, subject, verb, object is here. Now the women is what? Women is object. That's why we are using whom. Now she is the kind of lady who everybody knows. Now who is she? She is the doer. She is the kind of the women. And what everybody do? Everybody knows her. So it is going to be who. So basically, whom, object, subject. Understood? Subject is who, object is whom. So this was our last rule. This is our learning corner. This is where I have just put words from Word Power made easy for you guys, so that you can all, of course, you're not going to read that book for the improvement of your vocab or anything. So I put these words. If I really want you to maintain a notebook or something and write down these words, understand them. If you don't understand them, let me know. And what happens is, in next, whenever we are going to do synonym antonym, like I already told you, we'll these words will help you out a lot. And see, these are very easy words. If you'll see, acute is sharp. Very simple way to learn. Acute pain. I have acute pain in my knee. That means I'm having sharp pain in my knee. Adage. Adage is a very old saying. Like old is gold is adage. Okay, old is gold is what? Adage. Adamant. I'm very adamant about it, very stubborn, unyielding. I'm not going to move up on my stand of saving trees. I'm very adamant about my stand on saving trees. That means I am very, okay, adamant is stubborn. Address means what? Address is basically your ghar ka address. I understand, but in English, whenever a speaker is speaking, or the larger audience, when they speak to them, when they direct their attention, you always use the speaker addressed the audience. That means he's speaking to. Adherent, follower, blind follower, andha follower. किसी का follower is, the person is adherent. Admonish means किसी को धीरे से डांटना, हल्के से जेंटली डांट देना, वार्न कर देना. आई एम एडमॉनिशिंग यू टू टच द हॉट केक. That means I'm warning you that this cake is hot and don't touch it. But if second time I tell you, I admonished you to not touch the cake, but you still did it. Okay, then I say, I admonish you for touching this cake. This time I'm scolding you that you touched it. So you have two meanings. One is to warn and one is to gently scold. See, it is not a very critical or very serious scolding or beating or anything. Admonish means very slightly you shout, "Arey, why are you doing it?" This is admonish. Okay. Adroit. It's not android, it's basically adroit. Adroit means skill. So beast means skillful. So dexterous. One more meaning is dexterous, like Dexter Laboratory. So that means he was skillful and clever. So adulation is too much flattery, too much of praising somebody अपने फायदे के लिए. Like the secretary adulates his boss. That means for promotion he is doing too much of flattery. That means too much of buttering. Adulterate, science students must be knowing. Adulterate means to contaminate. किसी चीज को impure कर देना. पानी, साफ सुथरा पानी रखा था, I have adulterated it with color. So now it is all bad. Adverse means unfavorable. Adverse conditions. Adverse usually used with conditions, unfavorable conditions. Or antagonistic. If you see antagonist is also a word which is opposite to protagonist. So protagonist and antagonist are basically the characters in novel or some story. So that means the lead or the positive, the hero, heroine, that means who's positive is a protagonist. But antagonist, who's what is somebody who's against that, who is doing bad or who's being obstacle to that main character is antagonist. Okay, so antagonistic is adverse. Okay, now next slide. There is a reading comprehension for you. Not comprehension, basically this is just paragraph to improve your words per minute. So just give it a read. Now this was it for our class. I hope all the rules we have gone through, you must have understood. Basically, and I hope you all understood this. First person, second person, reflexive and all. If you encounter any problem, whenever we are going to take the classes, or whenever we are going to discuss the practice questions, we'll discuss this once more, and what happens is we'll just do it with the examples so you'll understand them better. So if you encounter any problem, do let us know. Thank you.